You are listening to the Critical Mass Radio Show, Orange County's business talk show, focused on exploring topics of interest to CEOs who are leading middle market companies. With your host, Richard Franzi.
Hello and welcome to Orange County's longest running business talk show. And yes, I am your host, Rick Franzi. And do we have a good show planned for you today? Why do you ask? Well, at least two reasons that I know of. One is we have a great guest. His name is Gregg Hemphill, and he is the CEO of Nexbelt LLC. And he's going to be an interesting guest, I can guarantee it. And secondly, this happens to be the last show we're doing this year before the long, hopeful Christmas, New Year's holiday break. So very excited to bring that energy into the room. And Gregg, welcome to the program.
Yeah, hey, thanks. A lot of pressure to close out the year, I guess, huh?
Bring it home, man. Yeah. Finish strong.
Hopefully I can close it out strong for you.
Well, that's why Haley and I plan to have you here in this position. We know you will do that. Let's look at your career a bit. So take us a little bit back in time, Gregg, and it's kind of your origin story. What was it that brought you to Nexbelt as their CEO?
Yeah, I played golf my whole life. Played in college, so it's kind of been, a thread through my life, I guess you could say. And through my 20s and even early 30s, I kind of did a bunch of different jobs, trying to find, what I wanted to do when I grew up. Still trying to figure that out. But in 2001, I played golf with John Ashworth, and I was friends with Bob McKnight, the founder of Quiksilver. We surfed and golfed a lot, and he was having John out. And John was starting a golf line with Quiksilver called Fidra. John and I hit it off, played golf a couple of times. He said, "Hey, I'm starting this line. Why don't you come work for me?" So to me, that was a dream, right? I mean, I'd always looked up to John and what he'd done at Ashworth, and so being able to be in the golf business working for Quiksilver was pretty amazing. So that's kind of where I got started on the path I'm on. Where I got to now, I was there for 5 years and went to a company that we were the licensee of TaylorMade Adidas Golf. I ran all the product there. So pretty much anything that wasn't a club or ball or shoes. So golf bags, headwear, gloves, etc. Ran the product there. After 5 or 6 years, went to Oakley and ran men's apparel there. So golf, surf, snow, lifestyle, training. Pretty much, it was a dream job. I kind of made product for everything I like to do. So I could just basically build product for my closet and everything I participated in and really enjoyed doing. And had a great job and a really, really great boss and mentor there. And after a year and a half or so, my old CEO from the company tMax Gear, we were the TaylorMade licensee, had gone to TaylorMade, had taken a license back, and so he went to Callaway as they were trying to turn it around as head of global operations and supply chain, and kept trying to get me to come there and work for him. And I kept saying no, and I said I got the dream job, but eventually kind of made me an offer I couldn't refuse. So I went back there and kind of did the same thing I did before. Ran all the soft goods globally for Callaway, same product, turned that around like we'd done at the prior place. And then the final 3 years, I was at Callaway 10 years. The final 3 years, I was the general manager of Ogio, a brand that Callaway had bought a few years prior. It's in the golf bag and travel gear space, really big in the travel gear. I mean, you can't travel, go on an airplane without seeing an Ogio product. So brought me to kind of fix that and turn that around. And then one day, lo and behold, I got a recruiter to come, "Hey, do you want to come run a belt company?" And as you can imagine, I was like, "I'm not sure, but I'll take the phone call." And as I started doing some research on Nexbelt and kind of what it was doing in the market and the technology it had, I took him up on it. And it's been, a little over about 2.5 years now, and it's been kind of an amazing ride. So it's kind of all fed through, as you can see, there's kind of golf that's fed through the whole thread of all of that is kind of somehow got a connection to what I've been doing. And
it seems
like I work for amazing companies.
And had good bosses.
Great bosses, actually,
That
really good mentors.
the company can be as great as possible, but if you don't have a great boss, the company is not
Yeah.
great, is my
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah. I had good guys that were invested in making me better. So
Mhm.
I think I wouldn't be sort of here without them.
Right. And it seems like the last position before this one, where you were the general manager, is a great training ground within a kind of a corporate space, but you have profit and loss responsibility, I would assume. And
Yes.
so you have all the responsibility, but you have a little bit of a backstop because you're a part of something bigger.
No question. It was a great, I call it maybe learning to ride your bike with the training wheels on, because
Okay.
it had all the profit and loss responsibility, the product, the marketing responsibility, but you still had sort of, like you said, the big multi-billion dollar company behind you, and a big finance team to help support it. So you kind of I'd kind of done different versions of that job along my career. And that was sort of putting it all together, but then having that support was really helpful to then kind of now do it on your own, where you don't have that backstop anymore.
Right now there's no training wheels now, baby. It's a bit of a
No training
tightrope.
wheels now. If you fall, you skin your knee and get back up and go.
Keep going. All right. So let's talk about over the 2.5 years since you've been with Nexbelt as the CEO, Greg. What have you learned? Have there been pivots to the business? Or what have you done inside the business and learned as its CEO?
So, couple different answers to that. A couple different things. I think the one thing I learned, and I continue to learn, is in all those other roles, especially prior to the GM role, it was very focused on what I needed to do day to day. And if there was an issue, I could really dive deep into something, and on a product side or a supplier side or whatever it was, kind of dig really deep and just outwork the problem, I guess. And the one thing now, we're still a small organization. We're 60 people. So it's a hands-on business from my perspective. But the one thing that I've learned, and that I've had to really work on, is I can't just dig into product if we have an issue on product, or dig into finance if we have an issue on finance, or we bought a company and we manufacture here in the US now too. If we have an issue there, making sure that, because I think early on sometimes I just go into deep into one spot, and there's all these other things going on that I have responsibility for, and I look up and be like, oh my God, these balls are all falling from the sky, and I got to go find them. So really, I've learned to, if there is a problem, you can dig in, but but I still have to spend some time, either maybe not necessarily always on a daily basis, but checking in very regularly with all the parts of the business to make sure sort of the initiatives we're working on are still moving in the right direction, or if there's a fire where I can help people. So it's kind of trying to manage my time and not silo myself too much, because I can get stuck, trying to fix something, and then everything else goes sideways, right?
Yeah, that's a delicate balance, because you never know when the phone's going to ring and it's one of your directors on the board or somebody who has a question about one of those areas for whatever reason.
Correct. And the panic hits.
And they kind of expect you to have an answer, or at least to know something about it. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
No question.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, that's that. And then from a pivot standpoint, we bought a company that had manufactured our higher end belts here at Nexbelt. So that was really new for me, actually, managing a factory. I've worked with hundreds of factories and been to factories I don't know how many times, but then when you actually have to manage it and all the things that go along with it, that's a pretty steep learning curve as well.
Yeah, it's hard work. But I love it when I discover a company like Nexbelt that has brought innovation to an industry that I thought was not really ripe for innovation.
Yeah.
I think of Starbucks. How did they innovate? Selling coffee, or
Yeah.
a bunch of brands. But we researched your company, I'm like, wow, this is super cool. That's why I was excited to have you here as our guest. So talk to us now about Nexbelt, and maybe help the audience to understand what attracted you to the company when you first took a look at coming to work and leading belt manufacturer.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I was like you hear about belts and you're like, I mean, a belt's a belt, right? I mean, the belt hasn't changed in thousands and thousands of years. It's the same, it's whether the material is, it's got a hole and a pin and you get your size and you're done, right?
You're done.
But it's funny. So we have a different technology. Ours is a ratchet technology. So a typical belt has a hole every inch, and you kind of, as you get skinnier or fatter, you kind of move it up and down. But unless if you have it frustrated me because I'd go play golf at a place and I'd buy a belt from it. It would fit great if I was wearing a pair of jeans because it's a little thicker pant. But then if I put thinner pants on, it'd be loose, or I'd have to tighten it too much. So it never really fit perfect all the time. Sometimes it would, sometimes it wouldn't. The ratchet technology, if I were wearing one and I showed you, you'd say that looks like a regular belt. The difference is ours doesn't have any holes in it. It's got a ratchet system behind it. So instead of having, an adjustment every inch, we have 5 adjustments every inch. So it doesn't matter. You put on a couple pounds, you ate too much pizza last night, or you're wearing thin or thick pants or shorts. It always fits perfect. You can adjust it perfect. So every time you wear it, it fits perfect. And as I was doing my research, and even now, it's crazy the number of people that I meet that I tell them what I do, and they get so excited. It's crazy. I'm like, I don't know if I've ever been with a brand that the customers got so excited about.
Wow.
Because they get into our brand, and then that's all they'll wear. They're like, you've ruined me. I can't wear any other belts. I've had to throw all my other belts out. So it was an area you would never think there's technology, but it's a drastic difference from a consumer's standpoint.
Yeah, I think as you were explaining that, I was thinking about the issues that, and we're in the holiday season too, ladies and gentlemen,
Yeah,
which is,
yeah.
maybe you'd be running up the pants a little bit to run them back down after the holidays,
Exactly.
hopefully. But yeah, and nothing is worse than an ill-fitting belt and pant combination, at least from a guy's
Correct.
perspective, because
Yeah.
if it's too tight, that's a long day, right?
Well, the other thing too is if the belts last a while, right? You don't buy a belt every 3
Right.
months or whatever. But as time goes, if you put on a few pounds, you can see the wear mark from the old where you used to wear it. So you're like, hey, dude, you might want to mix a salad in there, right? But with our belt, because it doesn't do that, you could toss a couple pounds on, and you wouldn't have visual evidence of it, at least.
Yeah, no one will know the difference. But you're not
Correct.
only making fashion apparel, you're also talk to us about the other area where your belts are
Sure.
really popular.
So the other piece of our business that's growing like crazy is on the tactical side. So whether it be police, military, somebody who concealed carry, that's when it flips a little bit from a comfort to true functionality. Because I met a guy at the FBI at the SHOT Show a couple of years ago, and he came up and introduced himself. I asked him what he did, and he told me, "Hey, I'm the lead tactical instructor at the FBI." So I instantly was like, "I better be nice to this guy because he'll break me in half." But I said, "Hey, what can I help you with?" He said, "Look, I've been wearing your belt for a year. I train these guys. I grapple with these guys every day. It's the best belt I've ever worn. I want to have it for my trainees. And I'm bringing my procurement officer by tomorrow to show them." Fast forward, now we're the official belt of the FBI. All their trainees have it. All the FBI members can go buy it, because if you're carrying weapons or ammo, or you're a police officer and you've got literally 30 pounds of gear on your belt, if it's too loose, and you're moving around, it's going to jump up and down. It's not going to be secure. And so with this, you can get it just right. Because the other thing is, if it's too tight, it's really uncomfortable. And so you're uncomfortable all day. So that ability to get the fit just right is super important. And then we've added most of our belts, you just have a single either lever or a push button to release it, to loosen it up, which they like because they sit in the car and they can quickly loosen it up so it's comfortable. And then they get out and they just push it, ratchet, quick, done. But for the military and police, we've created a system that's got actually a double mechanism. So you have to hit each together for it to release. So if they are in a dangerous situation, and it happens to bump one of them, it's not going to release it. You have to hit both, and we've got a patent on that. And so really adding security to this. But if on that side of the business, that ratchet is obviously super comfortable, but from a functional standpoint, it's a game changer for them. And all the people that have put it on are like, this is the best thing that's ever. It's just, it can't be comfortable carrying that much weight around, right? If it doesn't fit right.
Yeah, it's just, yeah, and like you said too, sometimes they're in high energy situations too, where it's just not comfort, it's safety, and
correct.
And so that's really, really very, very important.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's an interesting piece of our business. It's growing.
Let's move you in a different direction now, if I could. Think back to advice that you've been given. Is there a piece of business advice that someone gave you along the way that's been helpful for you that you can share with our audience today?
Yes, no question. And I think the number one thing advice I got, and thankfully followed, was ask questions. If you don't know, ask a question. And I tell, everybody who works for me or I'm trying to mentor is don't be afraid to ask questions, because a couple things. One, first of all, if you're asking to be doing something, it's your first time doing it. You're not expected to know how to do it. Secondly, you're going to ask somebody 95% of the time they've already done it, so they know how to help you to do it. So you're going to shortcut wasting a week trying to figure it out with a 30-minute phone call. The second thing I think it does, and this is equally important, I guess, from my perspective now that, I'm a leader, is if somebody asks me a question, I now trust them more when they give me an answer, because I know they know the answer. Because if they don't know the answer, they come ask me the question, right? I'm always afraid of the person in the room that knows every answer to every question, because none of us do, not even close. So if they tell you that, then you got to try to figure out what one don't they really know that they're trying to figure out. And when somebody comes and asks me a question, or I don't know how many hundreds of presentations to my bosses, I'd ask them about the presentation I was going to give them. All the way along the way is first start. Is this what you want to see? Is this halfway through? Am I in the right direction? Because you don't waste a week going down this, make a presentation or a spreadsheet and they go, that's not even what I want. You burned a week. But the other thing is, because you've invited them to help you along the way, they're invested in whatever that project is. So even if it's a project you're not giving to him, but somebody else, and they're in the room, you've got their support, because they've helped you do this. And so they know what you're going to say. So yeah, I mean, I tell my sons that are in college and grad school and people that work for me is like, don't come in my office at any time and ask me a question, because I'm going to be able to help you. And it's, I asked a million questions and I think I still do. I ask our investors constantly questions. And, like I said, I think the overlooked thing when people hear that question is the trust it builds, because they know if you do tell them something, you're probably telling them, what you feel is right, because if you don't, you ask.
Yeah, I like the layers of what you took us through there, and I really appreciate the thoughtful answer to that question. And I like the fact that not only did you get the advice, but you heeded it, which is really
yeah, exactly. If you're gonna ask, you better listen.
It was a great piece of advice.
They told
but I
you
don't
to do
use
this
it.
and you went the other way. That's not smart.
Yeah. Now they remember why you asked me for that. Yeah, that's so great.
Exactly.
All right. In the world of technology, which is what we're kind of talking about relative to your technology and your belts, I'm also curious about artificial intelligence and how Nexbelt and you as their CEO, how do you view AI, and are you leveraging it or planning to in your business?
So, yes, I think AI is a powerful tool, but I feel like, I'm probably at a kindergarten level of it. I've been studying it. I'm taking, some online seminars to learn about it, because I do think I look at it as a tool, kind of like maybe when the computer came out, right? It just helps you do things faster or better. But as I've also learned a couple things. One, it's only as good as two things. One, the questions you ask, and being able to really ask the right questions is harder than it sounds, I guess. Like like the layers, that the more detail you can ask a question, like it's significantly better in the output. The other is it's only as good as the information you put into it. So I don't think it's a end all be all for a solution, because there's still nuances to sort of any answer you get. Um, I I wish I knew the answer to how we're going to utilize it in our business. I know we will, as like I said, I'm trying to learn it. Um, but I don't look at it necessarily as, boy, I can do this AI and I can replace a bunch of people. That's not how I see it at all. I see it as, I the little I know, I think it can make us more efficient. I think it can automate some mundane tasks that we do. It can maybe get us to a better starting point on some projects. But if we can eliminate some of the stuff we can automate, that's going to allow our people to work on new projects, more advanced things, new things we want to get to. I think it's just going to make us a better, more progressive company, as opposed to, I'm going to be able to reduce payroll, so we're going to be more profitable. We're going to get more profitable because we're going to get better, not because we're going to eliminate people.
When you have a company of 60 people in various departments, and that's a good number, be congratulated for a payroll of 60, but you probably feel like you never really have enough resources to do everything you want. So if you can move them to be more productive because some of the basic things are being done for them, that's a lift to the company right there.
And I think the people will be, I think they'll get more job satisfaction, because all of us, we all have things in our job we do that just bore us to tears, but it's a necessary evil. You have to do it. Mm-hmm. And the more of those we can eliminate and allow people to do stuff, I get satisfaction when I think about stuff and figure something out and solve a problem and move something forward. The more we can eliminate the mundane and allow them to do stuff that feels like they're progressing, whatever their role is, I think the happier they're going to be at work as well.
From your lips, Greg.
Yeah. I hope I'm right. I'm trying to learn it. I'm trying.
I appreciate that. And the fact that you're investing your own time to attend and to learn is a great sign of a leader. And you're to be commended on that, because the AI world is moving so fast. You can't not stay abreast of the changes.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah. So let's talk about the future. What a great segue.
Sure.
What's your vision for Nexbelt?
Well, we've already made one acquisition. We bought a belt manufacturer here in Corona, California. So literally right outside my door, we're making belts. It's cool. I believe in Made in USA. I think it's fun. We can do a lot of different things that we can't do if we're trying to do it overseas or whatever. We can go back there and play around and come up with some new ideas quick and test it. So there's a ton of different markets that we still have that we haven't even tapped in the belt world. We do a lot of custom stuff. I think there's the opportunity in sports licensing. There's just a million channels that we're getting into the travel business. I mean, the funniest thing is the number one thing people forget when they travel is a belt.
Really?
So yeah. Number one thing people forget. Oh. Yeah. So there's the opportunity with, where we just got in some cruise lines, and, that whole travel space is big. We don't have a lot of international distribution. So there's the opportunity globally to expand this. And then look, we're opportunistic. So if we see a business that maybe not a belt business, but is tangential to our business, and we think we can help make it better, or there's some synergies, we're lucky we have a really strong business now that allows us the opportunity to look at other things to expand our reach.
As you were explaining the technology in the belt, I was thinking, when I go to shop for belts, there's racks and they're all sized, and they don't always have the same selection in every size. And you sort of eliminate that challenge for the retailer and the wholesaler, don't you?
For sure. So, I mean, if you wanted to get, let's just call it a basic black dress belt, right? If you're a retailer, you have to have probably 14 to 16 units to have a full size run of that, just to load in. Then you got to hope you bought your mix rider, a bunch of 36s don't walk in and take it out, right?
Right.
With us, if you wanted 16 units, I would recommend a retailer to buy 3 or 4 colors, 4 or 5 deep. And you're never going to run out. You're never going to walk a customer. So you're always going to have their size because it's cut to fit up to size 50. And it allows you to either reduce your inventory by 60 to 75%. And your turns then are just, I would say where we have a display in a store, we got to be the most profitable area 2 feet in the store because it just turns so fast, right? So you can you can either expand your selection, which the consumer's going to like for the same dollar amount tied up in inventory, or you can significantly reduce your dollars you have tied up in inventory, but actually increase your sales in that category because you're never, ever going to walk a customer as long as you have one on the shelf. Right. So from a retailer's perspective, we go in there with a pretty compelling story for them because everybody, it's about cash flow. It's about, how's my cash flow? How much do I have tied up in inventory? What are my turns? So we can go in there and the other thing for us is, and I tell this to our team is we're a belt. I mean, in my world, it's 100% of my world. In a retailer's world, I'm like this much, right? I mean, I'm tiny. I understand that. But if we can go in there and service them really well and give them a product that they don't have to worry about, they're not constantly trying to figure out size runs and all that stuff. I can be, a service for them too, because now they don't have to worry about that little bit of the business,
right? Because
it takes care of itself. So there's a few different ways that we really are advantageous. And again, the customer, once they get in our product, loves our product. So I'm not trying to go, well, you're not gonna quite be as good as you were, but boy, there's these other things that are gonna make up for it. That's not the case.
Right.
The customer is going to love our product and he's going to come back and buy more. 40% of our business online, and all I sell is belts, is a return customer. So that tells me the guy loves our product. It's not like I'm Travis Matthew and I have shorts and t-shirts and hoodies and jeans and blah, blah, blah. And I go back and buy another. He's coming back and he's only get the option to buy one thing, another belt. Yeah. So we're going to satisfy their customer, but we're also going to simplify their life.
I was impressed when I was kind of doing our pre-research on the range of types of belts that you offer too. I mean,
there's nothing we don't offer. I mean, we have a vegan leather that starts at $40 all the way up to Italian, crocodile prints that we make here in the USA for $225. So, and we have ribbon belts with surfboards on it. We got, American flag belt. I mean, we got everything. So they're really, you'd be hard pressed not to find a belt in our lineup that you like. And then again, on the whole tactical hunting side, we've got all that too. So yeah, we cover a very, very wide range. And thank God we don't have sizes because it makes inventory for me a lot easier too. I mean, let's be honest. It makes our planning way easier. I just need a black belt. I don't have to worry about sizes.
Yeah, because for those that are in the manufacturing wholesale distribution business, you know how much money you can tie up in inventory. And Correct. It's just sitting on the shelf waiting to turn. And
Correct.
the velocity.
Can we get some more 40s to walk in? I don't have to worry about that.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
It makes I'll be honest, it makes my life a lot simpler. I'm lucky.
And how lucky are you to find a belt manufacturer in Southern California? I would have never guessed that there would be one that would be that
right.
Close.
I mean, the only way we found them is because they were making our high-end belts for us. And we had outgrown our space. I mean, we couldn't hire another person. We were so out of space. We needed more warehouse space. We needed everything. And it was perfect. It was a 35,000 square foot building. We built in some office space here. So it just was a perfect fit for us. It was, sometimes the timing's just perfect and you get lucky.
Hey, I'd rather be lucky than good on occasion.
Yeah, no
right?
question.
Luck graces you. Take advantage of it. If someone, Greg, would like to connect with you, maybe on LinkedIn, and or learn more about your belts, how do they find you online?
So I'm on LinkedIn, Gregg Hemphill on LinkedIn. You can go to www.nexbelt, Nexbelt. So no T, it's not next, it's Nexbelt. So it sounds like Nexbelt. Nexbelt.com. And check us out and, send me a message. I reply to kind of any messages I get, and feel free to reach out. We'd love to have you come in.
Well, I've thoroughly enjoyed this time with you. I said at the top of the show, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to finish strong. And Greg, you did not disappoint. You hit it out of the park. A long drive right down the middle of the fairway, my friend.
There we go.
I appreciate your time today. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate let me tell my story.
And to the audience, thank you for being a part of our show today. It is Orange County's longest running business talk show. Gregg's interview joins our catalog of 1,500 plus interviews we've done over the years. If you happen to be an Orange County based entrepreneur, or you lead a nonprofit here in Orange County and you'd like to be our guest, it's really easy. If we're not already connected on LinkedIn, reach out to me. I'm Rick, R-I-C, Franzi, F-R-A-N-Z-I. Let me know in the connection request that you have an interest to be a guest. Between Haley, our producer, myself, we can get you scheduled and get you on the show in the not too distant future. If we're already connected, just send me a message in LinkedIn and let me know of your interest. And like we do, we'll get you ready to be a guest. And until the next time we all have a chance to be together, I wish everyone a good, safe, fun holiday season. It's a chance to recharge the batteries, spend some time with loved ones, maybe get a little bit of distance between you and your work life so you can come back in the new year ready to go. Until we all have a chance to be together, I hope all of your business decisions will move your company in a positive direction.